Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Hi-Fi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. My name's Jeremy, and we are in for a treat today. We're kicking off a new month, the month of July. And here in the studio with me, I've got Crystal Mazuka and Rachel Raquelme. We'll get to those gals in just a second. But this is the start of a new truth. The truth is, I am broken. The theme is SOS for kids, for preschoolers. It's help is on the way. God cares when I hurt. And want to take a pause here just for a moment, because if you haven't listened to the bonus episode of that is kind of talking about how this truth is changing, I encourage you to go find that. It should be in your podcast feed somewhere. But this is the last month. This is kicking off the last month of when we will use this truth in this particular way. We've kind of reframed it. We'll still deal with the brokenness a little bit, but we've reframed it to be I am made new, or God makes me new. And so for when we start our second cycle in September, we're going to be in we're going to reframe this. It's going to be a new truth. It's going to be a different month. And so this is the last month we're going to deal with. So if we've heard from many of you that you kind of struggle, particularly on the kids side, if you struggle with the I am broken being the front and center language, we understand that, we hear that, and so we have made some adjustments for cycle 2. So just know that we're starting this truth. Bear with us. We're going to get through this month together, and then when we get into our second cycle, starting in September, we have a new language around this truth. And check out our Facebook group where we did the unpacking video. The high level one, we have the bonus podcast. There's blog posts. There's all kinds of things that help you know what's coming in cycle 2. So if you haven't checked that out, use this as a plug to do that. All right. So in this truth, our theme verse is for preschoolers. We have separate theme verses: preschoolers and kids. Preschoolers is in Matthew chapter 6, verse 8. The second part of that, the B part of that, the B part of that. And it says, your Father knows the things you need before you ask him. And for kids, we've gone over to Hebrews because we just really like how this verse focuses in on the time of need phrase here. And so for kids, Hebrews 4:16 says, therefore, let us approach the throne of grace with boldness so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need, So those are our two theme verses that we're working on. Again, separate preschool and kids verses this month for that. So as we're kicking off this new truth for this month, I am broken. God cares when I hurt. This particular session is going to be one that maybe have a few challenges, and we'll talk about that in a second. But there may be some the idea is we're talking about the Exodus. Virtually the whole book of Exodus, if I'm honest. Like, we're talking about a whole lot of the book of Exodus. And we know those can be a little bit harder sessions, but we'll unpack the Bible story here in just a minute. Rachel and Crystal, thanks for joining me on this podcast episode. I want to start with this question as a reminder. Leaders, we're starting a new month, so I'm going to drop this reminder in here. We use this question not just to entertain you or to kill time. This is a question we want you to hear a little bit about us, and we want to share with you. But also, it hopefully can help model a way in your huddle times, any kind of connect times. You can use this with similar kinds of questions with your volunteers or with your kids in your ministry. And so that's the reason we start off the podcast episodes this way. So Rachel and Crystal, here's the question. So we're thinking about our main idea really is I need God every day. That is what we're talking about for this particular session. So let's think about those things that you need every day. What is something that you know you need every single day? Crystal, Rachel, what do you think?
Well, I've heard a funny little saying that essentially talks about how when you're a kid, you think about all the things that adults get to do. And even the fun things like adults get to drink coffee, adults get to drink energy drinks. Jeremy's sitting there sipping on his gigantic Sonic drink, even as we speak.
That's
And but then it says, when I became an adult, I realized the most adult drink is water. And I totally agree with that. I drink, I would say, at least 80 ounces of water a day. I've got my giant, 40-ounce water bottle that I'll fill up a couple of times. And I love water. And if I'm not drinking it, I feel sluggish and I feel icky. But the other thing that I would say I need every day, and this makes me laugh, I need time to read every day. I if I don't have at least 30 minutes to dive into a fiction book every day, I just get I get grumpy, I get sad, I get irritable. And so I guess you could say I'm addicted to reading.
Mm.
And so yeah, I need time to read every day.
Well, this is a place, Crystal. You and I are kind of polar opposites. I will go days without reading things. I mean,
Oh
obviously, I'm reading
man.
things maybe on my phone, or I may be reading stuff for work or whatever. But, and in fact, I'm really bad about starting a book and then putting it down and picking back up, and I'll like kind of skim back on that page that I had marked, and I'm like, I don't remember reading this at all. I got to start all over or something like that.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I can't imagine. That sounds
I really,
terrible.
I'm really bad about that. Rachel, what about you? What is something you need every day or most days?
Yeah, so actually, this is a new realization for me, I think, because Jeremy, Crystal, and I, and others have just finished a walking challenge.
Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
And
did.
so,
Yeah, we
Our
did.
team,
um,
our team got first
yeah,
place.
we did.
Yeah, we did.
And I've realized that that's really important for me. I've noticed when I
Mm,
walk in the mornings, my joints feel better. Um, and I think a little more clearly, and my day is just a little better. So I've discovered I need to walk in the mornings. And with that,
interesting.
I need headphones because I will listen to a book or listen to a podcast when I walk, and I feel like it just puts me in the right, maybe physical and mental frame of mind,
Mm,
to get started.
Nice.
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, so I'm a very active person, and I know that I need that every single day. And in fact, when the day after our challenge finished, I didn't send this to the group, but I almost like my feet don't know what to do today. Like it was that level of they have a mind of their own. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing right now because we spent so much over the last 6 weeks trying to get in all the activity. But I'm an active person, so I can relate to that. I need to have some level of activity every single day we're getting out. I can relate to that for sure. So this is very helpful for us to think about the things we need. We know that we need things, and as we get older in life, as Crystal, as you referenced, like we grow increasingly aware of the things that we need every single day. But as we think about this truth and how this ties in, and we want it to tie into the truth, it's not just a random question out there. Is our truth for the month is I am broken. Our main idea is I need God every day. And so here's the beautiful thing about really some of our finiteness in our human nature is we know we need something. There's a lot of things we need we don't even realize. God knows every need that we have. In fact,
Mm,
Matthew even talks about this a little bit, that God knows our needs, and how much more He cares for us than even like the birds of the sky and the flowers of the field and all that. And so. But when we tie that into this particular month, what we're focused on is that we're all brokenness, and we have a major spiritual need that really only God can
mm-hmm.
meet for us. And so, Crystal, help us kind of walk through this truth. We already kind of talked about this our last time in this truth, or the start of the last 4 weeks in this truth, but help us kind of walk through the I am broken, God cares when I hurt. Walk us through that, why this is important, and how we want to teach this particular truth to our preschoolers and our kids.
First off, I have to say, kids leaders, this theme song is the best theme song that has ever been released in all of hi-fi. The SOS song, like we work on these songs months in advance, of course. And when I heard it, I said, this is going to be the song of the summer. It is such a fun theme song. So enjoy the very tropical Caribbean vibes of SOS this month. It'll be great. But yes, brokenness is a reality for every single person in all of existence. We are broken people in desperate need of a God to redeem and save us. And one of the reasons why we feel like this is important to teach is the fact that preschoolers and kids don't always think that they are broken. They don't necessarily see themselves as sinful. They don't even necessarily see themselves in need of anything. And so we really wanted to take the opportunity with this truth to say brokenness is a reality for every single one of us. It's a reality for our world. It's a reality for the way that we even look and think about ourselves. And it's a reality for our relationship with God. And so what's neat is that this month specifically, we are going to get to talk about how this brokenness and this help that we need means that we need other things. We need God every day. We need God to forgive us. We need God's help and his compassion, and we need God's hope. All of these are results of brokenness, or are because we are broken. And so what's neat about it is that we teach that hard truth to preschoolers that God cares when they hurt, which means we have to acknowledge that they hurt. And for kids, the idea that we are broken, but yes, this is true. And because of this, we need these things. But what's amazing is that God gives us everything that we need in the midst of brokenness and in the midst of hurting. We know that God is the one who is there to comfort us. God is the one that is there to heal us. God is there as the one to help us. God is there as the one that we need the most. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be really cool, a cool way to do it, to teach it this week or teach it this month, sorry, that we are broken and that God cares when we hurt.
That's super helpful. Rachel, let's think about our Bible story. So as I alluded to earlier, we're covering a whole lot of Exodus in this. We're covering a whole lot, many chapters. How do we help leaders kind of hone in on, so this kind of one two-part question here, how do we kind of help leaders hone in on the main part of what we're talking about? But then one of the elements of this story is that God led his people by a pillar of cloud, by day, a pillar of fire at night. And that doesn't happen to us for most of us, right? We don't see that, and we don't see that kind of visual representation of God. And so the Israelites had that. They had that visual. God is with us every day, and we're following him, and he's meeting our needs. Since we don't have that, how do we help preschoolers and kids come along and start to translate that element from the Bible story into something that is kind of in real time for preschoolers and kids today?
Yeah. So, like Jeremy said, we're reading a lot this week. We have a big group of passages that we're reading, but they're really important because we learned that God provided for his people. They needed him for so many different things, and he was faithful to provide. He brought them out of Egypt and out of slavery. He was with them and guiding them, like Jeremy said, as a pillar of fire and a cloud, and how he parted the Red Sea. He protected them from their enemies. He gave them food. He gave them water. He gave them strength to help fight enemies. And he met their needs over and over and over again. But what's really, really important is he didn't just meet their physical needs of protection and freedom and food and water, but he met their biggest need, which was their need of him. He provided for them with his presence. And so we don't necessarily get to see God as a pillar of cloud or a pillar of fire to follow this physical manifestation that we can see. However, we do have God's presence, and we get to know God, and we get to experience his guidance, his forgiveness, his help, how he leads us. And God was faithful to the Israelites to give them what they needed physically, but to also give them what they needed, which was him and his forgiveness. And God's faithful to give us those things too. He meets our physical needs, but then he meets us with his presence. He meets us with his forgiveness, and he meets us in an incredible way that we get to experience because we get to know and follow him. And when we do know and follow him, we get to experience his Holy Spirit. Yeah. And so we get to experience God in an incredible way. And I think that this week, through our Bible story and our main idea, we get to really walk preschoolers and kids through all the ways we need God every day, all the ways God provides every day, and then the very best way he provides, which is through himself.
Love it.
Yeah, that's so helpful. It really is. So we know that sometimes these longer passages are a little bit harder to do in the room, and we know that that's true. But we needed because our main idea is I need God every day. We felt like we needed the ability to show a few days in a row, and that's one of the reasons why we're covering so many chapters, is so we can kind of walk through several days in the lives of the Israelites as they were in their exodus, as they were on their wilderness journey. And so thinking about kind of that idea, and we're landing in the everyday world, and it's going to be different for different ministries. So some of our ministries, we have lots of visitors and unchurched kids in that. But if you have a consistent basis of kids, or a core group of kids, one of the things that I tell the kids that I teach on a fairly regular basis, that sometimes kids in church that are there regularly almost have a little bit of a disadvantage, because they can, when it comes to this idea of I am broken, because we can kind of get settled in that, well, I'm in church every day, or I'm in church very often, and I live this good life, and I don't really need anything from God, anything more than what I've got, because I'm here and I'm living the kind of quote unquote good life, and they don't need God. So how can we maybe even to build, Rachel, on what you said, how can we even build that even more on to address again, maybe those church kids, or maybe those kids who are living a little more affluent life, that they just feel like they don't have a need. They don't feel like they're broken. They don't feel like they have any real spiritual need in their life. How can we use this session to kind of to hone in on that?
It reminds me, as you were talking, Jeremy, about our kids who maybe don't have the physical needs that other kids have, to be, to remember that, oh, I need to be praying for God to provide food, or I need to be providing for God to provide clothing, or these physical needs that I have. We do have children in our ministries who don't have those kinds of needs, and their physical needs are met, and they may be thinking, oh yeah, my life is fine. I don't really need anything. It made me think about the kings we see in the Old Testament, and how, especially King David came to mind, about how, on the surface, he had wealth and power and everything he needed, but he needed God. And we can read in the Psalms about him crying out to know God, and even for forgiveness. And it just reminded me that he had all the physical things in the world, but he still did not forget his need for God. And I think it's important that we talk about that we talk about how we spiritually need God. We are broken people who need forgiveness, and we cannot get that forgiveness by living good lives, by being the best people we can be. It is not possible. That forgiveness only comes through Jesus, and through knowing God and having his forgiveness. And I think, as we think about those kids in our preschoolers in our ministries who do have good lives, they need to be reminded that they need God just as desperately as the kids in our ministries who may be praying for those tangible things in their lives that they need day to day.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have much more to add to that. Just, thinking about, it starts with that solid foundation of just like, brokenness is unfortunately a part of our DNA. It's a part of our identity. Even if we don't think it about ourselves, even if we don't feel it about ourselves, even if we don't see it in our lives or in the people around us, every single one of us is in need of God. We cannot have that relationship on our own. And so, I've shared this on the podcast before, when I was with some fifth grade girls, and one of them just saying, like, I don't feel like I'm a sinner. I'm a good kid. And being able to bring up some of the things, well, like, okay, so what makes you think that? Oh, well, I never say bad words, and I always obey my teachers, and I'm really nice to people. And you get to bring up, so you never even have a thought that is mean or unkind. Well, yeah, I have that. Well, actually, that's sin as well. Do you ever not do the right thing? You might not do the wrong thing, but do you ever choose to just sit back? Do you ever choose to just not? And so just being able to recognize, like, no, even if your life seems perfect, you need God. You're a sinner in need of salvation and in need of saving.
It's very helpful and wise, ladies. Thank you for your insights on this. So, leaders, as you are thinking about this session, this idea of I am broken, I am or God cares when I'm broken, God cares when I hurt. Hopefully this session that will help you illustrate again over this fairly long passage, but illustrate that God cares about us. God cares about what we need. He knows what we need. He cares about what we need. And he wants to meet us where we are. And he wants to do that every day. He's not left us. And he doesn't just come back and check in on us every couple of weeks. Like he's like, hey, I'm there every day, just like he was with the Israelites. And so hopefully we'll be able to use this Bible story to reinforce that with kids this week. Crystal, Rachel, thank you for joining this episode of the podcast. Always great to have your insights and share these insights with our leaders, ministry leaders. Thanks for listening and staying with us through the summer and checking back with us on the podcast frequently. We love to hear that you all are listening and this is a meaningful resource to you. I know that as you are in the throes of summer, whatever you've got going on, whether it's VBSs and camps or whether it's business as usual or whether you take some time off during the summer, I know that we're praying for your ministry and praying that God will continue to help you as you create real connection and true belonging.